Who's actually going to get the most out of a Leica R680 laser level, and who should probably walk away? If you're a contractor who needs to stake out a foundation, a landscape designer laying out a patio, or a DIY homeowner tackling a big remodel, you'll want to know whether this device lives up to the Leica name without breaking the bank. And if you're just looking for a cheap, one-off tool to hang a few pictures, the answer might be a different story. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I get the hesitation that comes with any dual-axis laser that claims 8% grade adjustments at the push of a button. The promise of a Class II, 1 mW laser that can self-level and also dial in a slope sounds impressive on paper, but the real question is, how does that translate on a job site where you're juggling a battery pack, a receiver, and a bunch of other tools? I've spent the last week digging through forums, reading the spec sheet, and watching a handful of on-site videos where folks actually use the R680. The consensus is that the device does what Leica advertises, but the value proposition hinges on a few practical trade-offs. Let's start with who should buy it. The R680 shines when you need long-range accuracy and you're working outdoors in less than ideal conditions. Its range of 2,000 feet and accuracy of 116 inches at 100 feet are solid for tasks like grading a driveway, setting up a sight line for a new building, or staking out a large lawn. The built-in smart slope function continually monitors temperature and time, which means the device compensates for thermal drift as the sun heats the instrument. In practice, that means you can set the laser early in the morning, walk a half hour later, and still trust that the grade hasn't shifted by more than a fraction of an inch. For a professional who can't afford to remeasure every half hour, that's a real time saver. Another group that benefits is the landscape professional who frequently works on sloped terrain. The dual-axis Alkaline feature lets you set an 8% slope quickly, which is perfect for grading a slope for drainage or matching an existing hillside. Because the adjustment is done with a button rather than manually rotating the instrument, you can lock in the angle and walk away, knowing the laser will stay true to that grade even if you move the receiver. Now, who should skip it? If you're a casual homeowner who only needs a level for hanging pictures or aligning a few shelves, the R680 is overkill. Its Class II laser is safe for eye exposure, but still more powerful than a typical 0.5 mW line laser you'd find in a starter kit. The extra capabilities, dual-axis grading, smart slope monitoring, and IP67 water protection bring a price tag that doesn't make sense when your biggest project might be installing a few curtain rods. In those cases, a basic rotary laser, or even a cheap laser level kit, will do the job for a fraction of the cost. Let's talk about the practical strengths. First off, the IP67 rating means the unit can survive being dropped in a puddle or kicked around on a dusty job site. I've seen a few YouTubers demonstrate the R680 running through a rainstorm, still displaying a stable line after the moisture cleared. That's something you rarely get from cheaper models that are only rated IP54 or lower. Second, the inclusion of a REBasic receiver and the REBasic Alkaline battery holder is a nice touch. The battery pack is removable, so you can swap in fresh cells if you run out of charge midday. The receiver attaches to a pole or a tripod, giving you flexibility in how you set up the laser for different heights. One of the weaker points is the reliance on REBasic Alkaline batteries for power. While the battery holder is convenient, alkaline cells don't last as long as lithium packs in high-drain devices. In long-haul projects where you might be using the laser for 8 hours straight, you could end up with a dead battery halfway through and need to replace it on the spot. That adds a small but annoying downtime. Some competitors bundle a rechargeable lithium-ion pack, which can be a better investment if you're running multiple days of work. Another practical downside is the learning curve. The dual-axis Alkaline is a powerful feature, but you have to understand how to set the slope correctly and verify it with the receiver. The manual does a decent job, yet on the first few uses you'll likely spend a few extra minutes double-checking your settings. If you're in a rush and need a plug-and-play solution, you might find the initial setup a little fiddly compared to a single-axis laser that just self-levels. Pricing is the final piece of the puzzle. The Leica R680 sits in the mid to high range for laser levels, roughly $500 $600, depending on the retailer. For a professional who needs the range, accuracy, and durability, that price can be justified because the tool replaces multiple lower-priced devices and reduces rework. However, for a weekend warrior, the cost